Good afternoon. Hello. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Good afternoon to all those present and all those online. Let's call the September 29th, 2020 Rotary Club of Dalton meeting to order. I'm going to look at for President Ricky to see that we're good to go. Audio online. Okay, Ricky? Okay. Good. All right. Fantastic. I'm standing in for President Ricky because he and Sherry's sweet daughter has been close to someone else who has had COVID. Nobody in their family is ill, but I'm standing in Ricky's place to help out wherever I can, and so it's a pleasure to be able to do that. So first order of business is to ask for Chairman, Whitfield County Chairman Lynn Lauder and fellow Rotarian to lead us in blessing. Lynn?
Please pray with me. Father, please remind us day in and day out how blessed we are. Just, it's a beautiful part of the country, but it's also a very giving country. You have blessed us. And I just thank you for every person that is here today, Father, and I pray that you keep them safe. Especially thank you for the food and help them make it.
Amen. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. For those online, I think there are about 20 of us here gathered. And I see President Ricky and William Blackman, Judge Partain. Sorry, Judge, I keep referring to you as Judge, probably for always, is there. John Hutchison, Jim Hawkins, Rob Bradham, Bruce Satterfield, Achana, Catherine Sellers, and I think I saw a couple other folks. I've lost view on the screen. We have a good presence today, so welcome everybody again. So this week's meeting, you should have received the bulletin. I hope you saw that by mail, and it has the list of the birth dates and anniversaries. And I'll remind again, but we plan to meet again here like this, as well as have a virtual option on October 13th. So October 13th will be our next meeting, which I think pans out to be about 2 weeks. Frank, is that correct? We're spacing those out about 14 days. Yeah. So please put that on your calendar and plan for that. And Bill Bowen handed me a joke to possibly read. I don't know. I forgot to say. I forgot to say I wasn't going to say who gave me the joke. Sorry, Bill Bowen. The people on you wouldn't believe the people on the screen are going, "Don't do it, don't do it." So I'm going to take their advice. I won't be offended if you. Okay. All right. I'm going to take their advice. Okay. Fantastic. Getting right to the order of business for the day, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Representative Kasey Carpenter. Kasey is a member of the Georgia House of Representatives, represents the 4th District right here. He's done so since 2017, and good for Dalton, good for Kasey. He serves on several committees, Industry and Labor, Information and Audits. I can imagine what that must be like, Kasey. Regulated Industries, Transportation, and very important Ways and Means. We all know Kasey on a first name basis. He owns several businesses in Whitfield County, Oakwood, Cherokee, we're familiar with, Walden Hill Farms. And I'm looking forward to hearing about Kasey's work in the State House, his businesses, and the drive-through farmers market he helped organize in May. So please help me offer a warm welcome for Kasey Carpenter.
All right. Is this good, guys, online first? Am I looking good? Well, y'all are looking good. It's a good-looking bunch over here. All right. So I'll try not to get too political, but I will talk a little bit about what we've done at the state, kind of where we're headed there, and then, like you said, I'll break down kind of the businesses how they've been affected by COVID, and then talk about kind of future prospects for business that we're looking at, and then also touch on the produce box. As far as the state goes, of course, we're in the middle of a heated election cycle here. It's real important, I think, for the Republicans to hold our House majority. It's going to be a real intense election this fall. Of course, me being Republican, that's kind of the primary, most important thing to talk about at the state level, because, of course, if the Democrats do flip, then we'll all go to the back room, and we won't have very good committee assignments, and we definitely won't have chairmanship opportunities. So that's been a big focus over the past couple of months. Of course, depending on where you stand, I think Georgia's response to COVID has been pretty good comparative to other states. Perfect, no, but I think as you see people from all over the United States starting to look to move to Georgia because of how we've tried to balance the virus with business, I think it's important. You hear Governor Kemp talk about it all the time, the importance of balancing livelihoods and lives, and I think that's what he has chose to focus on, right, wrong, or indifferent, depending on where you stand. But for me, being a business guy, I was 100% behind him, because I think at the end of the day, you know, if we all get through this and there's no jobs, then we have some serious problems. So I think you can see from our revenue numbers at the state that we were able to balance that, and the numbers are good. I just had a conversation with Mayor Pennington about some the finances coming from the Department of Revenue, and things have been really good. So it's interesting to see how this all turns out in November. As far as what I've been doing at the state, a lot of the stuff that I've been working on has been pro-business legislation, which shouldn't surprise you. I try to do the best I can to eliminate regulation, to make, bring common sense, applicable policies that really help businesses streamline and be able to innovate. And so that's really what been my primary focus. I have done some other things, such as, and I'll continue to work on some other things. You've heard a little bit about the Dalton Utilities bill over the last 3 years or so, and I think we finally got that thing across the finish line, and it's going to be a good thing for all of Dalton Utilities customers as they're able to finance projects and move at a much faster pace. So I think you'll see some movement on that in the future, and it's going to be, in the long run, good for us. I also I'm working a lot with the Department of Transportation, DOT, with our Transportation Committee. I'm super excited about maybe a possible opportunity for a chairmanship in that committee. I've still got a lot of work to go, a lot of work to do, but I think it would be great for our area. We do a lot of, between tractor trailer taxes, hotel motel taxes, fuel taxes. Our community pays a lot for transportation, so I think it would really help our area if we could get someone from our area as a chairman of that committee. So that's been a real focus in this off season. Of course, if we don't win the elections, then all that doesn't matter. So that's where we've really been focusing on that as well. As far as another bill I'm working on is would allow DACA students to receive in-state tuition. That's a little more of a bipartisan piece of legislation, but I think it's important to know that, when our kids that graduate our high schools here try to go to Dalton State, they pay more than kids in Chattanooga that come down, where we have where we allow out-of-state students to pay in-state tuition. And I think if we think in the long run that these kids are going to be here, which I think they are, then why do we not want to retain the brightest and the ones that are heavily motivated to better themselves? And so it's to me, it's it may not be the most Republican thing you can do, but I think it's the right thing to do. And I think we've invested in these kids already, and I think to slam the door on them is a bad thing. And it, like I said, it takes kids that are motivated and want to excel, and it just completely takes it off the table because they can't afford to pay $15,000 a year to go to Dalton State. I mean, that's just no offense, but when everybody else is paying 5 or 6 and they're having to pay 15, it just doesn't work. So hopefully we can get some momentum on that. It's going to be hard, I think, with budget cuts and depending on what all that looks like. But I think we'll be surprised at the revenue numbers. I think we've got an opportunity to see some much better numbers in the long run than we thought. Of course, that depends on what the economy does over the next 6-8 months, and when the federal government quits spending money, what that does to the whole thing. But that's just a little bit of what we got going on at the Capitol. As far as projects in town go, if you happened to be in town and got to come to the Pumpnik Festival this weekend, we had about 3,000 people there over a 2-day period out at Walnut Hill. It was pretty intense. We kind of threw it together in about 3 weeks, and people just kept piling in and piling in. So it was a good experience, and we'll do it again for sure. But that was the latest thing that we've done. But we've also, I see Mr. Manley sitting here. We're in negotiations with Manley about buying the Manley Jail Works building. So we're moving forward with that. Going to do a neat project there. Of course, across the street from the Oakwood, the hotel project is still going. We had a meeting last night looking at drawings for it. So hopefully we'll be releasing information on that as we move forward, because we definitely think having hotels downtown is a good thing for our downtown area, as we continue to see a uptick in visitors to our area that are fleeing the cities to get out on the weekends. So I think we'll see that. I haven't seen the hotel motel tax numbers locally, but I assume that they're up tremendously, because we're seeing a lot of folks from all over the southeast coming to Dalton, which is surprising, but it's a good thing. So be on the lookout for that. We're also kind of in coordination with what they're talking about, the produce box thing that we did back in the spring, that the community just really wrapped their arms around. We're opening a new business that's going to do produce boxes throughout the state of Georgia. So we've been in contact with Marietta, Augusta, Macon. There's a couple of cities down in South Georgia as well that want us to come in and do these boxes, do these big events for them. So we're working on that. Hopefully be unleashing that in the next week or so. We bought another building right beside Manley that we're putting a big 1,500 square foot cooler in. So it's going to be pretty exciting stuff. As far as what we did last spring, we really set the bar as a community super high. We ended up selling like 14,000 produce boxes in town. And just put it in perspective, Marietta did it, Cobb County, which is huge. How big is Cobb County? What, 4 times the size of Whitfield County, probably, at least? 8 times. And we sold 14,000, and they did an event and they sold 3,000. So wrap your head around that. It was truly a remarkable event that, we just literally in a 3-week period went from 0 to 120 miles an hour, and everybody just grabbed a hold of it, man. And it was a special event. And I don't know that you can bottle that up and do it again, just because it was like the perfect storm of goodness. People have been trapped at home. People needed to eat. People wanted to be involved in something. The farmers needed us. It was just, you name it, man. And it was a really big event. And so we're gonna do some of those again this fall. But of course, I just don't know that we ever mimic what we did over there. It was just over at Dalton State. It was super. It was just a big thing to be a part of. We ended up in a 6-week period moving 500,000 pounds of Georgia grown produce in literally 3.5 weeks. So whether it was the farmers that we bought the product from or the other farmers, we took so much supply off the table that they saw prices rise tremendously, and they ended up having it went from a doomsday experience to is probably one of their more profitable springs that they had. You had corn when we started that thing selling at $14 a case. By the end of it, it was $30. And it wasn't a supply issue. It was it wasn't like a production issue. It was literally, we had moved 5 tractor trailer loads of corn. So it was just, it was just phenomenal thing to be a part of. And kudos to everybody, because I'm sure if you're in this room, you were probably involved, or your company had boxes, or you gave boxes. So I appreciate you for doing that. So we'll see. We'll see how the fall goes with it. It's kind of weird talking to you. So I heard a preacher say that one time. He's like, I don't know that I can do this, because I feel like I'm preaching to you, but then I'm preaching to you, but I'm looking here, but I'm doing the best I can. But anyway, so we got a big fall coming up. We're excited. Of course, Georgia Auburn this weekend, 25% of the stadium. Hopefully you're one of the lucky guys that gets to be there. And probably don't have to worry about going to see the Falcons, because they're so sorry nobody's going to show up anyway. So it'll probably be normal capacity next time they play at the house. So anyway, I'll be glad to take any questions, thoughts, Miss Lynn. Yeah, it's just me and my folks. Yeah, me and my wife and everybody. Yeah, we're working on a hopefully put a burger restaurant in there and then have some retail opportunity as well.
Casey, would you repeat the question, please?
Oh yeah. Hey, sorry guys. Sorry all the folks at home. Lynn was just trying to clarify when we said we, who she meant. Did she mean me? Did she mean the state? Did she mean the city? So sorry, I wasn't very clear. I apologize. So yeah, so it's just actually me and my wife and our organization that are buying these buildings downtown.
I want to applaud you for the bipartisanship support of the office.
Thank you. Yeah, y'all heard that pretty good. Hey, Hawkins, there you go, Hawkins. Hawkins heard that one.
Budget based on sales tax revenue. A little better than hope, but still a substantial cut. As the numbers are recovering, is there a thought that mid-year we would make some budget corrections, or would we just try and look at next year to reinstate some of the cuts?
That's a good question. So the question was, at the end of the session, we adopted some pretty significant budget cuts at the state level out of fear for what we were seeing. This was in June, from what we saw in March, April, May. So, and so the question was, because revenue's doing better than expected, will there be mid-year fixes, if you will, to the budget cuts? And I would the best I can say is I imagine we will. When we come back in January, if not before, depending on how the elections turn out, we will probably get back together and fix some things. I think there's still a concern about what does it do, what does it look like long term. So you may not see a full reinstatement, but I have a feeling there are going to be some definitely shoring up, if you will, with extra funds. You know how politicians work. When there's money on the table, they're going to try to spend it. So that's how it works.
So I had the same question, but specifically for Dalton State.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they've been told, cut your budget this percentage, and professors are getting let go. So
right.
How do you fix that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the question was, how do you fix the spending at Dalton State and how those budget cuts? And I would say, because they've let professors go, I would say it's going to be a little slower to be fixed. But I also think that trying to balance this virtual school, I think we're going to have you're going to see some reform, I think, in the university system over the next year and a half, because I think COVID has really opened our eyes to virtual learning, especially at that level. And if that's the case, is it cheaper to do that way? And does that trickle back to cheaper tuition? I think there's going to be a fight, if you will, between the consumer and the provider over the next couple of years. Strictly my opinion, but I do believe that's coming.
Kasey, you do have a couple of virtual ones online that wanted to ask questions. Sherry had her hand up.
Hey, Kasey, thank you for being there.
Hey, absolutely.
Just wanted to let you know, you had mentioned in the beginning of your speech about many people moving to Dalton. And just wanted to let you know that within the past 6 weeks or so, I've had 10 come from Washington State, Oregon, Oklahoma, West Virginia. We've had some come from Illinois and Vermont. And they basically all just said it was just basically the way Georgia was doing things, that they felt they were doing them right. And they wanted to come to this area. A lot of them couldn't explain what brought Dalton to them or what brought them to Dalton, but they just said they just liked the way Georgia was doing things.
Okay, well, you just remind those people what it was, the politics that's got us to that point, not be bringing in I'm just kidding. Don't be bringing the politics that drove them out of those states here. They need to come and be full Georgians, not just visitors that live here. So, yeah, I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, we're seeing it in the restaurants. I'm seeing it. We actually, me and my wife, we had a house at Jekyll Island that we sold to some folks from New York. And they're seeing it all down, all St. Simon's, all that stuff is people from New York are buying it up. They're getting out, man. And I get it. I mean, we want to be safe, but at the same time, you got to let people make decisions. And I think that's what we've tried to do in Georgia, best we can. And I don't know, I do a daily or weekly COVID update. But if you haven't seen it lately, the numbers are coming down tremendously. Of course, locally, we got hit really, really hard. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it's really been fairly flat for the last month almost. So I don't know. I get a daily update from Hamilton. Many of you may as well. But I mean, there's right now we have 8 patients in the hospital and none of them are in ICU, and that's down from I think a high of 46 over a weekend. It wasn't published at 46 because it was in between, like a Saturday Sunday. But I think the high point was 46, and they're at 8, and none critical. So I think we're getting through it. We're getting smarter, and I think, I personally believe I feel like the virus is kind of slowing down because it's running out of places to go. So that's good news. Hopefully we won't see it in the fall. It's hard to say. That second wave that we're all talking about. I think Georgia's wave was so big, maybe we avoid that second wave, and we kind of took it all at once. I hope. That's my hope.
Amanda had her.
Oh, that's right.
Flu season is coming, and fall weather might also encourage the virus. So
Sure, absolutely, yeah. That's not time to relax, not by no stretch of imagination. But I agree, no stretch of imagination, relax. But I also think that we're in a lot better spot right now than we were at the end of July, early August for sure. So, and that to be proud of.
Amanda had her hand up as well.
Hey, Kasey, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
You drink coffee by the window. You better get to work.
I am.
This is interesting.
We appreciate your concern, your compassion, and your being quick to action, honestly, related to the food boxes. I think you pulled something off that nobody else could have done in a very, very short period of time. So you're impressive, to say the least. You're good for Dalton and you're good for our state. So first and foremost, thank you. And as you look towards next steps, you mentioned having a building and then serving several different areas. Are you looking at doing that that distribution kind of on your own? Is it in addition to or in conjunction with civic organizations that want to work with you? I know that we've heard interest both with our club, Rotary is certainly concerned about feeding folks, and then also several different organizations that do work every day in this arena, whether it's Chattanooga Food Bank or otherwise. But you've been able to connect people in ways that I think a lot of people could not have done. So just curious what that distribution model looks like. Have you got your head wrapped around that, or more to come?
I would say I've got my head wrapped around it. I don't know if I've figured it out just yet, but I mean, it's going to be very similar to what we saw in the spring. We're gonna do the $20 box to make it nice, enough produce to last somebody a week so it doesn't go bad. We will partner with, as we go into other communities, we will partner with nonprofits, if you will, to help distribute the product, because I can't, they know Augusta a whole lot better than I know Augusta. And so that's what we did down there. And then, of course, write them a check for the number of boxes sold. So we'll probably do something like that locally here as well. As far as working with the food banks, what we've typically done is when we get done with our boxes, whatever produce we have left, we donate to the food banks, because we want to give them the freshest product so they buy a box next time, and it's really still probably a week newer than the food banks get anyway, at the end of the day. So we went that first time, we had a lofty goal of 20,000 boxes. And so we had 6,000 boxes worth of produce left at the end of it. And so we hit every food bank from here to Gainesville and up to Chattanooga. And I mean, I was driving a truck every day to a different food bank. So we'll definitely work with those folks as well. But we'll see. I don't really know, Amanda, what it's going to look like. They're just biggest thing is just getting through the fall, because the crops are starting to come in now in South Georgia. thanks to your help, we were able to kind of partner with the local farmers market. And I think we had a successful farmers market locally that didn't look like we were going to have for a while. So I worked with those folks and kind of helped publicize and market for them to get people down there. And I think they had a really, really great year. So hopefully there'll be more people around that are interested in farming. But we just don't grow a whole lot of product around here. I mean, we got some land out in Murray County that a lot of people farm out, but we farm, I tell everybody, we farm jute up here. So, you know, we got a product, but it's carpet. So put it in. That's what I told all my farmers. Now, you know, I bought all this corn from you and I need you to order some carpet for your house. Cause at the end of the day, we got to pat my back a little bit. My folks need to sell carpet. So, I don't know. We'll see how it all works out, but I'm excited about it for sure.
Sounds great.
Archana, do you have a question for Kasey?
Yeah, yeah. Hi, it's good to see that what you're doing for those kids, DACA. U.S. still has to import the brain power, doctors, engineers, scientists. And these kids, we have to spend money on educating them up to high school or wherever they are, and just throw them out. Our president is playing games with the H-1 visa anyway, if you know about it. So how do we get to some point of sensibility, like have all the people still recognize that COVID-19 is not a hoax and global warming is a factor? I mean, of course, somebody sets up the rules. Hey, if you belong to this party, you have to walk on this line. But where does the brain go? Power or rational thinking goes?
Yeah. So I'll start there. I agree. I think we've seen that politics has become so partisan, and it's gotten extreme on both sides, and there's very little room to work in the middle. I think most people that know me know that I actually work in the middle a lot, probably more so in this area than the politics would actually suggest I should at the end of the day. But I think it's good policy, right? Because if you've got these kids that are going to other states to get an education, they'll go a year, get in and be able to get in state, and we're losing them. And I mean, you look around, that's a big significant part of our population and a growing part of our middle class in town. I mean, it's just I don't know if you've seen what the folks, the Ramirez, the eclectic folks are doing over on Murray Avenue, but they're revitalizing that whole area on their own. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're out there, anybody subsidizing it. They are building these things and remodeling all this because there's a need and there's opportunity. And so I think that we need to, as a community, realize that that's a growing and important part of our population. And we've talked about it for years. I mean, this is actually my first time ever at a Rotary meeting, by the way. So thanks for having me. I went to a Kiwanis meeting maybe 2 months ago, and I called a Rotary. So I say it's my second time at a Rotary meeting. One of them was just a Kiwanis meeting that I called a Rotary meeting. But I mean, we've talked about it for years. I can't meet during lunch normally, guys. Sorry. So we've talked about it, Chamber of Commerce and whatnot, and various other meetings for 20 years. But I think it's becoming more and more prevalent as we look. I mean, you go down to Cherokee on Saturday night, and that's a blended restaurant. I mean, it really is. I mean, it is a blended restaurant of young families from Hispanic, whites. I mean, it's a great blend, and it's been almost like our opportunity finally as a community to merge the two cultures, and I'm excited about the opportunity there. And as a business owner, I realize if I focus on just feeding the white population, then guess what? In 20 years, I'm out of business. I mean, it's just no way to evaluate what we got going on. And it's great, man. Great people, hardworking. I mean, they're Dalton. They're Georgians. I mean, they got Bulldog shirts on. Them folks, I mean, they're good. It's good stuff, man. So I'm excited about it. But I mean, to neglect that at the legislature, even though I'm Republican and that's a Democratic policy, is not serving my community. And some people would argue that those people don't vote and you shouldn't, but I think you have to represent your community as a whole. That's why, and I believe it. I mean, I think it's good policy, and I think it's the right thing to do too. So. Yeah. So exciting. Oh, Bundro, sorry. Sorry, Tom.
I know I've thanked you before, but I'd like to thank you in a public forum for the support that you gave to Dalton Utilities in our community.
Yeah.
For advancing that amendment to revenue bond law. We're taking immediate advantage of it and are in the marketplace. We'll be closing by the beginning of December for a $100 million bond issue, none of which the proceeds will go to Vogel 3 and 4, but it'll give us, we're about $65, $70 million behind in CapEx for local transmission and distribution investment, which ultimately will secure the reliability of the electricity supply that comes to our industrial customers. But equally as important, long after I'm gone and pushing up daisies, my successors and the successors of the younger people in this room will be able to take advantage of that to purchase into the next generation of electricity production that technology is going to be providing for us. And at the end of the day, the cheapest way for Dalton Utilities to get electricity is what VD discovered back in the mid-70s, and that is you own an undivided ownership interest in generating assets, and you don't pay the markup that an investor-owned utility is going to have to require of you, that will require of you to pay in order for them to make their bogey to their investors. So hats off to you, brother. Again, thank you for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sure y'all have talked about this 100,000 times, but I just want to give you a state perspective on this. So when I go down to the Capitol and I try to explain, in 3 years running, trying to explain this bill, nobody can wrap their head around it because you know what? We have the most unique asset in this community that nobody hardly can even understand. Every time we talked about Dalton Utilities, they would call it Dalton EMC, or they couldn't wrap their head around that our utility was able to do what it was able to do. And so I'm a big numbers guy. I don't know if most of you know that or not, but I'm a big numbers guy. And as I was selling this bill to people and just, I read through Tom's financial statement and I was just trying to explain to him, I was like, guys, you do understand that this is $1 billion worth of assets utility that owes literally $50 million. That's like you owing $5,000 on your $100,000 house. That's the shape that this utility is in. So it's an asset that allows us to do amazing, amazing things that we wouldn't have otherwise. And so you just don't understand that we at the state level, we talk about all the time cities outside of Atlanta. What are the issues? Internet, healthcare. We don't have those issues. I mean, is it perfect? No, but we got, if you're in Dalton Utilities, you got great internet. If Hamilton, we got great healthcare. We got things that most communities would just lose their mind over. And so it becomes kind of challenging at times because you have, especially my friends in South Georgia that have these, when you don't have healthcare, you can't attract employers because their executives don't want to live in that area because they don't have anywhere to take their wife when she's ready to have a kid. So it literally, when you got to drive 2 hours to deliver your child, people aren't, they're just not going to locate a big company there. And so we have the assets that people would kill for. And I think a lot of times we trip up our own self and amongst ourselves, fighting over silly things at the end of the day. And we trip ourselves up, and it's like, God, we just got to keep on keeping on. Are things perfect in Whitfield County? No. In the city of Dalton? No. But it's like we're playing poker with one of the best hands in the state of Georgia. We got one of the best poker hands in the state of Georgia because we're right on I-75. We're between Chattanooga and Atlanta. We got educational opportunities, healthcare, internet, cheap power. What do you want? Plenty of jobs. We got jobs coming out of our ears. Like, we need people. You know what I'm saying? But it befuddles me that we get caught in the weeds sometimes over the silliest things. And it's like, why are we focusing on that? Do we need to help our problem areas? Absolutely. But be proud of what we got. You know what I'm saying? If we just do 2 or 3 things, there's no telling where this community could be. And so I get excited, especially when I get down there and I get around people and it's doom and gloom, man. You got hospitals closing. Hamilton's, they're building like crazy, bringing in great doctors, world-class doctors to Dalton. People are like, what? This surgeon's coming here? Yeah, because people are tired of being in the big city. They're ready to get in an area like this, but they're not going to move to an area where they don't have internet. They're not going to move into an area where they're not going to do it. But this place right here, it could be a mecca for people. And like Cherie said, they're coming. So this place may change over the next decade, 5 years. You got people coming. I had somebody looking at my house yesterday from New York. Somebody wanted to see it from California. So people are coming. So just get ready. Somebody needs to build a bunch of houses about $350,000 to $450,000, which is probably a stick house right now with the price of lumber. But it'll come down eventually. But seriously, there is a void. They say New Yorkers are moving to Nashville. Nashville folks are moving to Chattanooga. Well, where are the Chattanooga people going to go? I'd come to Georgia if it was me. Open for business. So anyway, that's it. Soapbox. Sorry. Love you. Thanks for having me.
When's he gonna make some more videos?
Hey, Kasey, one last person says, when are you gonna make the next video? I don't know.
Tell him I just got a new wig in yesterday. It came in last night, so it's more of like a blonde Jerry curl looking wig. It's gonna be it's strong.
Probably plenty of royalties to come from that, I'm sure. Hey, Kasey.
Hope the singlet fits
a whole new
after
industry in Dalton right there.
That's right. Kasey, thank you for taking the time out. I know you're in demand at mealtime and all other times, and thank you for your economic impact and business works here in the city and for what you do for our community. And really, I think it has impact around the state when you're in Atlanta. I know there's no off time from the legislative session. You always have to stay in contact and business goes on. So appreciate your time.
Yeah,
thank you. Appreciate it. Rotary Club is going to donate a book to the Dalton Whitfield Library in your honor for your presence today. Thank
Tell
you.
the library to make sure to be open so somebody can rent that.
I'll do that. We've got a Rotarian. He might be in related to the library. We'll work on that. All right. Thank you.
That was a joke.
He said it was a joke out of it. So, okay. So let's see. Next meeting, October 13th. And no other business before the club. I'd like to close this out with the pledge to the United States flag and the four-way test. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, Godspeed. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks,